Namo Tassa Bhagavato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Last night we have already started talking about Venerable Ananda. We also have already mentioned before 20th Vassa or anti-20th Vassa. The Buddha does not have permanent attendant. So after 20th Vassa, Venerable Ananda become permanent assistant or permanent attendant of the Buddha. There are some conditions requested by Venerable Ananda. In reality, from time to time, he had been Buddha's attendant, although not long time or not permanent. For example, when Buddha was in Viranja, he was also an assistant or attendant of the Buddha. But now here, he was going to be a permanent assistant or permanent attendant. That's why he requested 8 alms from the Buddha. So we should talk about the first 4 requests. Vanita Chura, 5 robes. Whenever Ananda requested the Buddha, if the Buddha didn't give 5 robes or choice clothes for him, he will be permanent assistant or permanent attendant of the Buddha. This is the first thing he mentioned. Second one, Panita Pindapada, fine foods or choice foods. If the Buddha didn't give him choice foods or special foods for him, he will serve the Buddha as permanent attendant. Then here we have the next one. Eka Ganta Kutiyam Vasana, sharing living space. If the Buddha didn't ask him to live in the same place or the same room with the Buddha, he will accept to serve the Buddha as a permanent attendant. But here we have the last one, Nimantana, share invitation. Share invitation means wherever the Buddha was invited, if the Buddha invited, the Buddha bring Venerable Ananda, he must follow everywhere. He can get a lot of profit. That's why it's called share invitation. But the main thing is, if Venerable Ananda accepts all these things from the Buddha, many people will complain, oh, Ananda is very luxurious. By serving the Buddha, he can catch very good clothes. Although he can enjoy very good foods every day. Even he can live in the same living room with the Buddha. So when the Buddha was invited, and that is included naturally. Of course, if we have this kind of favor, this kind of gains, we can serve the Buddha. So people will say it's very easy to serve the Buddha because we can get a lot of profit. I mean, we cannot say profit, we can gain a lot. We can be favored by many people. So when seeing this kind of complaint from many other bhikkhus and people, Venerable Ananda requested these 4 from the Buddha. Then there are also another 4 requested by Venerable Ananda. Here, Gahita Nimandana, invitations accepted by me. So that means if the Buddha accepts invitation accepted by Venerable Ananda, he will become permanent assistant, a permanent attendant of the Buddha. But that means from time to time, many lay devotees will invite the Buddha. Sometimes it can be together with Venerable Ananda and the Buddha. Sometimes they cannot approach the Buddha. They can just approach Venerable Ananda. Then they may request, okay, Venerable Ananda, please bring the Buddha with you. When people request like this, he must invite the Buddha. That's why if Buddha follow his invitation or Buddha accept his invitation, then he will be a permanent attendant of the Buddha. This is another one. Agata Barisa, visitor from other regions. Actually, there are many people who wish to see the Buddha. Since he is a permanent assistant, permanent attendant, they will approach him first. Then if he accepts or if he allows, he could see the Buddha. So there are some people, they come from very far distance. They come from very far regions. So they are tired already. If they want to see the Buddha urgently, the Buddha must allow when he brings them to the Buddha. This is the second request. But sometimes people want to see the Buddha, but they have already arrived. They have to wait a very long time. They are tired already. They don't have living space in the monastery. Then they may encounter difficulty. That's why Venerable Ananda requested Agata Barisa, visitor from other regions, came to see the Buddha. As soon as they arrived, the Buddha must accept them to see. The Buddha must allow them to see him. This is the second request. Now we have another one, Kanka, doubt. There will be many Dhamma terms, or there can be many Dhamma materials, or many Dhamma knowledges. He may have a doubt about some Dhamma. As soon as he has a doubt, he must ask the Buddha. That's why he requires this one. As soon as he has doubts, Buddha must allow him to ask anytime. So as you have already known, why Venerable Ananda was very wise. You may have already known Venerable Ananda could memorize all Pitaka, everything taught by the Buddha, without any doubts. Because he could ask the Buddha anytime he needs to know. Then this is about doubt. Of course, there can be doubt about Sutta, doubt about Vinaya, doubt about ultimate realities, doubt about practice. Then whatever doubts he had, he could ask the Buddha anytime. If he didn't ask this kind of doubt, if he cannot solve this kind of doubt later, when later generation asks him, he cannot answer properly, then this is also not very quite good for him. That's why he requests this kind of request from the Buddha. Then okay, one more thing. There was a Dhamma, repeated sermons. I mean, wherever the Buddha preached any discourse or any sutta, or Jataka stories, or Abhidhamma, or anything? If Venerable Ananda was not there, that means in the absence of Venerable Ananda, whenever the Buddha delivered discourses, or lead on Vinayas, or any Dhamma, the Buddha must repeat, or the Buddha must preach him again, in order that he may know all the Buddha teaching. If he didn't know anything about Buddha teaching like that, later generation will complain about Venerable Ananda. Oh, although he followed the Buddha many years, he couldn't learn anything. Then they will complain. So to avoid this kind of complaint, he requests this kind of things from the Buddha. So the Buddha allowed all these 8 requests from Venerable Ananda. Then Venerable Ananda also accepted to become a permanent attendant of the Buddha. So you may have already known Venerable Ananda's ability. He learned suttas from the Buddha. Not only that, he also learned Abhidhamma from Venerable Sariputta. He also learned Vinaya from Venerable Upali. He also learned many other Dhamma talks from many other famous disciples. Sometimes people also ask, why Thera Gatha, Thera Bharana, that means the biography of Thera in Tipitaka? Where do they give that kind of Dhamma talk? Actually, Venerable Ananda listened their biography. Also, he repeated all their biography. That's why we have Thera Gatha, Thera Bharana, and Khuddaka Nikaya. Okay, now for attendants, how he had to work for the Buddha? Actually, every hours, whenever the Buddha needs, he must be ready. Whenever visitor come, he must be ready. That is why he will be around the Buddha all day. But at night, no more visitors. But he look around the Buddha's living place, around the monasteries. That means he didn't sleep whole night. He was ready all the time. Whenever the Buddha needs, he could go and see the Buddha. So you can also imagine without sleeping many years, how it will be. Actually, he is a good practitioner. He had very strong concentrations. He had very strong practice. He had attained Sotapanna. That is why, although he could not sleep, although he didn't sleep whole night, he can feel fresh because he could enter into attainment easily. This is also one of the power of Venerable Ananda. And not only that, Venerable Ananda also had attained psychic power. Also, he had attained analytical knowledge, Vrisambhidanyana. Mostly we understand as a Sikha Parisambhida. Sikha Parisambhida means he's just Sotapanna. He had attained analytical knowledge. That's why he could remember everything without missing any single word. Okay, the main thing is we are going to talk about permanent attention of the Buddha after 20 Vassa. Then after 20 Vassa, 21st, the Buddha spent his Vassa in Savatthi. So you have already known the name of Savatthi. You also have already known very famous devotees, Anathapindika. Then we should introduce Narapindika's family. Just brief. Narapindika had 3 daughters, also 1 son. So together with his wife, there will be family of 6. Narapindika, his wife, also 4 children. Right? 4 children mean 3 daughters and the youngest son, Kala. So he was a businessman. Also, he was rich. He could support the Buddha and then Sangha. Then we should introduce a few more things about his family member. He had a brother. He was also a bhikkhu, Venerable Subhuti. Venerable Subhuti could enter into jhana attainment every single houses before receiving alms food. You can imagine how strong his concentration power. This Venerable Subhuti, one of his brother. There was also another brother named Chula Anathapindika. That means junior Anathapindika. Or smaller or younger Anathapindika. He was also a businessman. He was also rich. He could support the Buddha also. So from time to time, to differentiate these 2 brothers, Anathapindika we know is called Anathapindika. His younger brother is called Chula Anathapindika. But mostly we don't use Anathapindika. We just use very simple term, Anathapindika. So actually, he also had his personal name, Sudatta. Anathapindika means Anatha means homeless or helpless people. Pindika means give out all the foods. So he give food for homeless people or helpless people. That's why he was named Anathapindika. Now we should know his relationship with the Buddha. He has very close relationship with the Buddha. So since the second Vassa, before spending second Vassa, he invited the Buddha to Savatthi. He offered Jetavana Monastery. Very early, he offered Jetavana Monastery. Before spending second Vassa in Rajagaha. Then he was also a very long time supporter. So like a family already. The Buddha and Anathapindika are like family already. But he has a weakness. Although he was very close to the Buddha, he didn't ask any question to the Buddha, thinking that before ordination, the Buddha was a prince. He was born in royal family, very subtle. That is why when he asked question, he will be very tired. After enlightenment also, the Buddha just enter into fruition attainment or any other attainment, live peacefully. The Buddha was very subtle, very soft. That is why when he asked question, the Buddha will be tired, worrying about Buddha's tiredness. He didn't ask any question. But whenever Anathapindika approached the Buddha delivered discourses. So one more thing here. Whenever the Buddha delivers discourse, it's not about Mekha or Phala or Namarupas or Jhana. It's always about Dhamma, Sila, or about family life. Very simple conversation, very simple topic. We can also say easier way. Mostly the Buddha delivered discourse to Anathapindika about family life or worldly happiness. This is his Dhamma talk, very simple Dhamma talk. But we can find one conversation with the Buddha in Anguttara Nikaya. There, Anathapindika asked the Buddha, very rare. He didn't ask question to the Buddha. So that is about how many Venerable Sir are those in the world who are worthy of offering Dakshineya. Then where should a gift be given? This is his question. Then the Buddha talk about Noble Eightfold Paths, but not that heavy topic. The Buddha answers it very simple. There are householders, there are only two types of person in the world who are worthy of offering. Sekha, the trainee, and Asekha, non-trainee. Okay, here for your understanding, Sekha means practitioners who have never attained arhatship yet. Asekha means arhat. We should understand roughly like this. Okay, now what's it really called Sekha? Practicing Noble Eightfold Paths. This is called Sekha. You have already known what really called Noble Eightfold Path. That's why I didn't list out here. And now we should talk about Samadhi, right view. Under the name of right view, we must understand the noble truth of suffering, Namarupa. Under the name of Samudaya Satya, the origin of suffering, we must know the dependent origination. These two are compulsory for Vipassana practitioners. If we can know all types of Namarupas as aggregate, then if we can know their causes, the dependent originations, we are strong enough to practice Vipassana. So for about Nirodha Satya, of course, we haven't attained Nirodha Satya yet when we are practicing, right? Of course, if we can attain Sotapanna, we may have attained Nibbana. But we still need to practice Noble Eightfold Path again until we attain arhatship. That's when they are trainer or trainees, Sekha. Magga Satya and Noble Eightfold Paths, we must practice this one. When we can attain arhatship, we have already practiced completely. We don't need to revise the Noble Eightfold Path anymore. So similarly, Samma Sankappa, right thoughts. That means overcoming wrong thoughts. We must overcome thoughts of sensuality. We must be able to overcome thoughts of ill will. We must be able to overcome thoughts of cruelty. And we also say right thoughts means we must have thoughts of renunciation. That means to give up sensual pleasure and sensual desire. Thoughts of goodwill. That means we must have metta, loving kindness to all living beings. Thoughts of non-cruelty. That means we must have compassion, karunas to all living beings. These are important as a foundation in our life. When we have right thoughts Of course, there will be many other benefits. So we have to talk about samavacha, samagamanta, samaajiva. When we have good minds, of course, we may have good speech, right speech, polite speech, true speech. Similarly, when we have kindness, when we have good mindset, we may not disturb any other living beings. There will be samagamanta, right action. When we have both right speech and right actions, then we're going to have right livelihood naturally. Because all the livelihoods come from speech and action. Mostly we earn money with two actions, right? Speech and action. That means we do bodily, we can earn money. We speak something, we can earn money. So when we have right speech and right actions, of course, we also have right livelihoods naturally. These three are related. Then there will be right mindfulness and right concentration. These are called Noble Eightfold Paths. When somebody is practicing Noble Eightfold Path, he is worthy of offering. Then he is worthy of accepting offering. This is the good receiver we can understand. Of course, if someone had already practiced Noble Eightfold Paths, if they don't need to revise anymore, he became an arhat. This asceta, non-trainee. Since they have already practiced Noble Eightfold Paths completely, they are more worthy of offering. They are the best receiver of offering. That's why the Buddha talked to Anathapindika. Worthy of receiving donation means they must be practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, or they must have practiced Noble Eightfold Path completely. These are the quality of receiver. Not only that, there must be one more, samanyana, right knowledge. Actually, when we talk about right knowledge, we may misunderstand like a Dhamma knowledge or something. Actually, another name or knowledge, it also cover insight knowledges. It also can be path knowledge, fruition knowledge. It also can be revealed knowledge. But here another name of samanyana, that is headship, head of fruition knowledge. Then we can also talk about another one, samma vimukti, right liberation. Actually, whenever we talk about liberation also, it must be a headship. Mostly we name fruition knowledge as a vimukti. Of course, there can be different degree of vimukti, different degree of liberation also. For example, when we can practice vipassana also, our mind can be free from defilements. This is also liberation. Then when we can attain Sodapatti Magga and Phala, of course, we can also see Nibbana. This is also liberation. Sakadagami and Agami headship, every single attainment can be considered as liberation. But here, one more thing. When we say Vimukti Jnana Dasana, Vimukti Jnana Dasana means the liberations of view and vision, the knowledge and vision, sorry, liberation of knowledge and vision. So in this case, it must be revealed knowledge. So revealed knowledge can do 5 different things. As Arahat, it can be only 4 maybe. But for other noble person, there can be 5. They can review the path knowledge, that means associated mental factors in the path knowledge. They can also review fruition knowledge. That means they can review the associated mental factors of fruition knowledge. Then they can also review Nibbana. Then they can also review the defilements they have already eradicated. They can also review the defilements. We can also say remaining defilements. They need to be eradicated. These are called revealed knowledge. Of course, if somebody has achieved this kind of revealed knowledge, they are also noble person already. So if we are not noble person yet, we must be able to practice the Noble Eightfold Paths. If we can practice Noble Eightfold Paths, we are qualified enough to accept donation of devotees. In Pali, we call Dekhineyo, worthy of receiving donations or offering. This is the Dhamma talk to Narapenika. Actually, there are many different quality of, we can say, Dakhineya. Though you may have already known this Pali word, Dakhineyo, even in Sangha quality, we have this quality. So here I should elaborate a few more about Dakhineyo, according to Buddha teaching. Now we have to start from very beginning. The first one, Silakkhana. If somebody is practicing morality, here we can say a collection of virtues. It doesn't mean only one virtues or one rules. It can be big number of rules and regulations. Actually, every single rules we have difficulty. We must be strong enough to follow the rules. For example, no killing. Right? It's very easy to say not to kill, but in daily life, not that easy. If we have habit of not killing long time, we can avoid easily. If we don't have that kind of habit, it will take very long time to change our habit. Similarly, not telling a lie. Okay, we can say white lie also now, right? White lie also a kind of musawada. But one more thing, a few years ago, I talked about Walanchaka musawada, we can say white lie. I have to learn a lot, reading many texts in Myanmar and in Pali. Finally, I found out, oh, Walanchaka musawada is a kind of musawada. This is also breaking precepts. But since we have good mindset or good intention, it's not agusala. That means musawada, but not agusala. That kind of musawada cannot lead reverse in lower ranks. So now modern society, like we can say white line. For example, a doctor will tell a line to the patients, oh, if you can take this medicine, you can recover. But actually, he cannot survive anymore. He cannot live anymore, or she cannot live anymore. But the doctor may tell a lie to the patient with good intention. In this case, this kind of musawara is allowable. The main thing is, if we have habit of lying, it's not that easy to change. It will take time. So sila khanda means groove or collection. Also can say aggregate. Then there can be many categories of morality. For example, some morality are traditionals. That means some of the tradition, they also have kusala minds. They have good intention or good minds. When this kind of culture, that kind of tradition, we have to maintain. Some of the tradition are very useful for the community. We have to maintain that kind of tradition. This is also a kind of virtues, come from tradition. Sometimes come from family traditions. So we can say family descendant. It should be the same. Sometimes come from it, the tradition come from the country. So as long as the culture is good for the community, you have to maintain. As long as the kusala, wholesome or beneficial for the community, we have to maintain. But not that easy to maintain also, right? If we summarize, under the name of Sila Khanda, there are many, many rules and regulations. Also, there are many different traditions. As long as it's useful for the community, it can be according to religion, community, or it can be family descendants, different country, or only regional, whatever traditions is good. This is also called virtues. We must maintain, we must follow it. For example, when we go to Sri Lanka, we have to follow their culture. When we go to Thailand, we have to respect their culture, their tradition. This is also called sila. We call in Bali Achara Sila. So as we have already known, we have 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 9 precepts, 10 precepts. We also have Patimokkha rules, Bhikkhuni rules, Bhikkhu rules. We have many different duties and responsibilities. They are also called sila. If we can fulfill duties and responsibilities, we are following, we are practicing sila. So another name of sila khanda, there are many, many things. If we summarize, we have responsibility and duties. We have to avoid many other wrong things. All these are called sila. Then not only that, we have samadhi khanda, a collection of concentration. It doesn't mean very simple or single concentration. There can be many different types of concentration. You may have already known many different types of practice. So even in our tradition, we have anapanasati, also 4 jhanas. We have kasinas, 9 kasina up to 8 attainments. Also space kasina and up to 4 jhana. We also have 4 sublime abidance. We also have asava meditations, 32 body parts, Buddhanusatis, recognition of Buddha's quality, also recognition of death. There are many, many types of samatha practice for concentration. Big collections of concentration. If we are following and practicing, we are also worthy of accepting donation from devotees. This is also the quality of Dakineya. So although we say that is samadhi khanda, right? Then we haven't attained jhana yet. The majority of bhikkhu cannot attain jhana, right? As long as they are practicing, they are trying, we can also say they are worthy of receiving donation from devotees. Of course, if we are not very interested in jhana or practice or anything, then we have to think about receiving or offering donations to that kind of foreign persons. The main thing is we must not reject concentration, or not only concentration, right? Because sometimes people also ask, why do we need to practice many different way of concentration? We cannot know people's parami. We are also blind. We have to try many different ways to achieve higher level. And sometimes they also ask, what is the benefit of anapanasati? And they have many questions about it, right? Sometimes we can also say according to the text. It will be very long process. If we say very simple, okay, you can relax your body and mind at least. You can feel peacefulness if you can meditate well. If you can focus very well, when your mind and breath become very harmonious, you can also feel rapture, joy, tranquility, bliss. That is actually quite enough. So there are people, when they have peacefulness and tranquility, they stop there. They don't wish to improve anymore. This is also the power of meditation. Anyway, as long as somebody is practicing samatha or samadhi khanda, the collections of concentration, they are also called dakhineya, worthy of receiving donations or worthy of offering. Okay, now we have to move the next one. Panya khanda, the collections of wisdom. Actually, we have many different types of wisdom according to Buddha teaching. Some of the wisdom are very high, not very easy for beginner to understand that kind of wisdom. If we say basic wisdom, for example, when we are going to be Buddhist, actually we must believe in karma is a result. We must have knowledge about karma ownership. Good action will bring good results. Bad action will bring bad results. When we have this kind of understanding, we can also say karma sakata samadhi, karma ownership knowledge, or the knowledge of karma ownership. This is basic knowledge, basic wisdom. Then we also have silamaya panya. Silamaya panya means by following rule and regulation, we become wiser. How to do, how to avoid rule and regulation, how to follow rule and regulations, how to avoid wrong things. It comes from experiences and practicing. This is also called silamaya panya. If we don't follow rule and regulations, if we don't discipline ourselves, we will not have this kind of wisdom. It comes from practice. Similarly, we also have jnanamaya panya. That means the wisdom produced by jhana. When we are practicing jhana also, we need skill and wisdom. If we are not skillful enough, we cannot attain any jhana. If we are not wise enough, we cannot attain any jhana. Sometimes people also misunderstand. Sometimes it's just jhana, not jnana. That means sometimes it's just for jhana, not for wisdom. Okay, it doesn't mean we must not have wisdom to attain jhana. So most people think, oh, we don't need wisdom to attain jhana. No, it's not like that. If you have learned Abhidhamma, you may know all the jhana associated with wisdom. Without wisdom, we cannot attain jhana. That's the one thing. There's one of the scholar mentioned the one. If we don't have wisdom, let alone attaining jhana, even we cannot see the light. So that means when we are practicing, when we are meditating, we may see the light when we are wise enough, or when our wisdom faculty becomes sharp and strong. If we don't have very strong wisdom faculties, we cannot see the light. So that is why when we say wisdom, this also includes jnanamaya panya. The wisdom produced by jhana. So we can also understand wisdom produced by samatha practice. So that means when we have more experiences, we become more skillful, we become wiser. Okay, for about higher knowledge, higher wisdom, like inside knowledges, path knowledges, fruition knowledges, and revealed knowledges. These are also called panya. The panya khanda is very wide. So if we are wise enough, then we have one of these kind of wisdom. This is also called dakhineya. So we are worthy of receiving donations from devotees. Now the next one, Vimutti Khanda, a collection of liberation. So we already mentioned liberation means Vipassana Jnana also can be liberation, path knowledge, fruition knowledge. This is also called liberation. That's why a collection of liberation. Not only one type of liberation. There will be many different types. Then, if we talk about Vipassana, how can we know Vipassana is a liberation? In Pali, we call Dattanga Vimutti. Dattanga means momentary or temporary liberation. That means when we are in Vipassana knowledge, when we are practicing Vipassana, we don't have unwholesome minds. We don't have defilements. That means our mind is temporarily free from defilements. This is also called liberation. But when we talk about Pahana, Dattanga Pahana, we also have that kind of usage, right? Abandoning by substitution. Actually, temporary liberation also similar to Dattanga Pahana, abandoning by substitution. If we can substitute wholesome thoughts for unwholesome thoughts, wholesome minds for unwholesome minds, that's also called substitution. In the case of path and fruition knowledge, it's very clear. We can have any types of attainments, Sarabhati Megapala, Sakadami Megapala, Anagami Megapala, Arhata Megapala. These are very clear. Our minds are free from defilements, step by step. This is also called Vimutti. Okay, now we have to move the last one. Vimutti Jnana Dasana Khanda, a collection of knowledge and vision of liberation. So in our previous topic, we have already mentioned Vimutti Jnana Dasana is Pacchavakkana Jnana. Here also we also use the term Khanda, group, or aggregates, or collection. I have already mentioned many different number of Vimutti, reviewing, path knowledges, fruition knowledges, Nibbana, the eradicated defilements, and remaining defilements. If we can review all the things, this is called Vimutti Jnana Dasana Khanda. So these are the quality of Dakhineya. So if we talk about receiver, or worthy of receiving, or worthy of offering, we have to understand these five. Okay, one more thing here. For example, Sila Khanda, morality. I think I have already delivered discourse on Metta Sutta. I'm not sure I have explained that one in Singapore or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure I have already talked about it in Cambodia, in Indonesia, also in Myanmar. I don't know other country. More than 5 times I have already talked about Metta Sutta. You only have known 2 Pali words, Ujuja, Sujuja, right? So we may practice Sila and Samadhi and Panya, but our minds are not that pure. Uju means sincere or upright or straightforward. That means we must be very honest. If we know, okay, we must say we know. If we don't know, we must say we don't know. Similarly, if we are moral, we must be sincere. Okay, I'm immoral. If we break rule and regulation, we must confess, I have break this kind of rule and regulations. This is called uju. So sometimes we pretend, oh, we are pure. Right? We just pretend that we are pure. Although we make mistakes, we hide our mistakes. It's not uju. Although we do sila samadhi panya, if our mind is not sincere, not pure, so that's not the way to nibbana. It's not noble paths that lead to nibbana. That's why that kind of receiver will be risky, right? So that means we must be sincere or honest. Similarly, samadhi. Although we haven't seen nimitta yet, we may say, I haven't seen nimitta. We pretend that we have seen something special. Although we haven't able to focus, although we are not able to focus on the nimitta yet, that we may pretend I can focus on the nimitta. That is also not very sincere or honest. Okay, if we summarize, uju and suju means bodily, verbally, and mentally. We must be honest. If we don't have sila, we must not hide. We must confess. It doesn't mean we have to reveal our sila everywhere also. Similarly, concentration. If we don't have concentration, we must be honest. If somebody is honest, we can have very easily. If somebody is not very honest, we cannot have. Right? Okay, practically, in my life, I have many Dhamma friends. So I also have many people. Some of my Dhamma friends, they want to learn English. Then I also give some information. I also have give them some guidance. I also give my notes, my English notes for them. But when I explain something, they pretend that they have already known that kind of sentence structure or grammatical rules. So when they are pretending like this, I'm gonna have them anymore because I don't know they can really understand or not. Although I'm helping them, they cannot digest very well. Gradually, their truth color appear. Their true knowledge appear. Although they learn many years, they cannot speak English. They cannot read English. They cannot translate any single sentence of English. So that means if we are sincere or honest, we can have easily. If somebody is not very sincere, we cannot have easily. We don't know what is he needs to do. That's why when we are doing Sila Samadhi Panya or these three trainings, we must be honest, it must be sincere, it must be the way to Nibbana. If we just do all these three trainings for gain or for fame, for popularity, to attract people, then in this kind of case, there is no true attention, no right intention. That is why that kind of receiver is not worthy. So that means here we say Sekha and Asekha. Sekha means trainees. Asekha means non-trainees. That means Arhat. So another name of Sekha, not only noble persons, but also ordinary people. For example, some lay person, they are practicing Sila Samadhi Panya with good intentions, very diligently. They are also good receiver. There will be some Siali or Samaniras, they are also practicing diligently, although they haven't attained any path fruition or any jhana yet. They are also all called Dakineya. They are also called trainees. They are still training. Then similarly, many bhikkhus, as long as they are training themselves very well, they are also called good receiver. That means we can support them. They are also called Dakineya, worthy of receiving donations. So when another Pandita asked a question to the Buddha, so the Buddha answered only two. There are two types of receiver. in Bali, Dakineya, worthy of offering, worthy of receiving. That is, Sekha, trainees, the practitioners, following Buddha instruction, practicing Noble Eightfold Paths, or practicing 3 trainings. Then, Sekha, those who had already practiced all 3 trainings, all the Noble Eightfold Paths, they have already eradicated all types of defilements. They are very pure. Then these are also called worthy of donations, worthy of offering. So this is the question asked by Narapinika. It's very rare Narapinika asks question to the Buddha like this. Mostly the Buddha also understands Narapinika's mindset and also give many different Dhamma talks to him. Actually, I have already talked about this Dhamma talk in many places, so that's why I want to use slideshow. I will just give you the information. You may have known 4 types of happiness. I have given this Dhamma talk in many different countries, many different meditation retreats. Actually, these 4 types of happiness also delivered by the Buddha to Anathapindika. The first one, in Bali we call Ati Sukha. Ati means heaven or possession. When you have many belongings, many properties, that means you are rich. Whenever you recall, I have this kind of property, I have this kind of achievement, that kind of belonging, this kind of house, this kind of car, whenever you recall your belonging, you can also feel happy. I have got this one, I have got this one, right? That is not all the time. Only sometimes when you can recall or when you remember, when you can rejoice in it. This is called Ati Sukha. Most of the people follow this kind of happiness. Then another one is a Bhoga Sukha. Bhoga Sukha means enjoying or using the properties. Okay, now practically, I have a laptop. I'm using my laptop for Dhamma talk. So that one is useful. So that means by using, we can also feel happiness. So you can also imagine similarly in your daily life. You may have a house, but your house is not quite good. When raining, it will leak water. Then you cannot live peacefully. You cannot live happily. You may have a car, but broken. But maybe you're gonna broke down, right? Then you cannot use your car. Although you have a car, it's not usable. You cannot feel happiness. So that means if your belonging is usable or useful for you, whenever you recall, oh, that was useful, I can use this kind of things, then you can feel happiness, but not all the time happiness. Okay, now the next one, Ananya Sukha. Ananya Sukha means no debt. Sometimes people also have many belongings. They can also use many things, but they also have a lot of debt. When we have debt, we are not free. Debt collectors, the creditors can come and for us to give, to return their money or their loans. Then we have to suffer for it. So when we are free from debt, we can also be happy. So these 3 are very common in the community. When we can use many things, when we have many belonging, when we are free from debt, we can feel happiness. Okay, the last one is the most important, blameless happiness. Here we use the Pali word, Anavaja Sukha. Anavaja means blameless. Sukha means happiness or bliss. Yeah, blameless means if nobody blame us, then when we are moral, when we have good conduct, right speech, right actions, then nobody will complain. We can live peacefully, we can live happily. This is called Anavaja Sukha. Of course, we don't make mistakes, so we don't complain ourselves also, right? Sometimes we make many mistakes. then we complain ourselves too much. We also say remorse or regret, or we may feel guilty. Right? This means blameable. We blame ourselves. When we are blameable, we're gonna feel happy. When we are blameless, we can feel happiness. So the Buddha also talked to Narapindika these 4 types of happiness. So now you can also imagine very rare. Narapindika asked question to the Buddha. Also, only one time I have found this kind of question asked by Narapindika. Mostly, the Buddha delivered discourse to Narapindika, just talking about daily life, or family life, or about happiness, about dana, about sila, very minor things. Or like a not very heavy Dhamma talk. It will be useful for every Dhamma listeners, especially for ordinary people or worldly people or household life, a householder. Okay, today I will stop here. So this is about Venerable Ananda and about Narapindika. So the Buddha spans his 21st Vassa to 44 Vassa in Savatthi. After Vassa, he may left here and he may leave for different places. He may give Dhamma talks in many different places. After the Vassa, he may came back to Savatthi. He may spend Vassa in Jetavana Monastery. So I have already mentioned before, in the Cālika Hill also, the Buddha spent many Vassas. In Rajaka also, the Buddha spent many Vassas. In Savatthi, the most Dhamma talks are delivered in Savatthi because the Buddha spent most of the time in Savatthi. So when we are going to talk about Savatthi, we must not forget talking about Visakha. Okay, for you analyzing, I should give some information. When the Buddha visited Rajagaha, at the time, the young girl, Visakha, is only 7 years old. He could attain Satapati Magana Phala at the time. So 7 years old, he was Satapana. When he was 16 years old, she got married. She moved to Savatthi. So that means 9 years later, right? So that means after the first Vassa, the Buddha visited Rajagaha. So 9 years later, Visakha also moved to Savatthi. But offering Buddharama Monastery will be a little bit late. You can also imagine in his offering ceremony, she had 20 children, also 200 grandchildren already. That means she had got grandchildren already when she was going to offer Buddharama Monastery. So that means she was old at the time. We can also understand after 20 Vassa, she offered Buddharama Monastery to the Buddha. So I'm not going to talk about Visakha's story very much in detail. I will just talk about Visakha's, that means some discourses related to Visakha. Because you have already known many stories, right? You can read many stories online or many stories in Dhammavara or Mahabodhavansa. You have many information already. So I just collect some suttas delivered for Visakha. There will be the next Dhamma talk. Okay, so today I will stop here. So Narapindika and Visakha are good devotees. Also, although they are not good practitioners, they could attain path and fruition knowledge, since they have very strong parami. So similarly, if we can fulfill parami well in this body life, it will be supporting course of attainment in the future. May you all be able to fulfill parami. May you all be able to realize final cessation and not suffering.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhante, can we ask question?
Okay.
Bhante, can I ask a question first?
Okay.
Bhante, I do not really understand what is the difference between the Vimutti Kanda and Vimutti Jnana Dasana Kanda. What is,
Okay. If we say Vimutti, it can be up to headship. Okay, up to headship, right? If we say Vimutti Jnana Dasana, it can be up to revealed knowledge.
Which knowledge?
Revealed knowledge. Reviewing knowledge. Okay, that means after attaining any path and fruition knowledge, there's a reviewing knowledge.
Oh, reviewing knowledge.
Reviewing knowledge, right? Reviewing. So Vajrakana Jnana, reviewing knowledge.
Okay.
So these two are different.
Okay, so Vimutti Kanda is Arahata. No,
Sure.
Yeah.
Arhata.
I got another questions. Bhante
Okay.
mentioned jhana also need panya.
Yeah, sure.
I understand is that when we train for jhana, we need wisdom. Just like I said that when we attain jhana, we also gain wisdom. Is that correct?
Sure.
How about before?
Okay, before so we need wisdom. Before attaining also we need wisdom. Without wisdom, we cannot attain jhana also.
Meaning even before we practice jhana, we must have a wisdom as a basis to.
Sure. Okay, one more thing, right? Mostly we should say the skill. Okay, we should say skill. So before attaining jhana, if we say in an easier way, when we see the nimitta or before seeing the nimitta, we must have nimitta kosala, skill and nimitta. That means how you can get nimitta, how you can make your nimitta brighter, how to maintain nimitta, how to maintain the brightness of nimitta, how to develop nimitta, how to improve nimitta, for example, right? When we have all these types of skill, that we can maintain nimitta better, we can attain jhana. So that means before attaining jhana, or when seeing nimitta, or before seeing nimitta, you must have skill. This also comes from experience and wisdom. When we have attained jhana, there will be another, we call apana kosala, skill and absorption. This also comes from experiences and also wisdom. Okay?
So how to cultivate this wisdom? We just have to practice more. Is that correct?
Okay, sometimes we need experiences.
Okay.
We need both good and bad experiences, right? So experience and bad things, we must know how to avoid, what to avoid.
Yes.
Experience and good things, we must learn how to achieve that kind of thing. How is the process? If you can remember both good and bad, it will be easier for us to maintain or to improve.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. Bhante, on the screen, there's one question. Is being a
Okay.
journalist the right livelihood?
Of course, we can say as long as they don't cheat people, right? If they just give truth information without harming people, just helping people. In this case, we can say right livelihoods. If they have bad intentions, right, harming other people, we cannot say right livelihood. It depends on how they work. We cannot say all the people have right livelihoods, right? Okay.
Sorry, Bhante. Just now Bhante mentioned that Ananta Pindika only asked Buddha about the Dakineya. Buddha answered the Seka and Aseka. So just now Bhante explained more, Samanyana, Samavimutti, so on and so forth, Sikakanda, so on, so and so on. That is on top of, that is what Buddha answer, or Bhante just give more details?
Okay. Another name of Seka, right? So another thing is like elaborations of Dakineya. When we say Seka, that means there's a practitioners, right?
Yes.
That's why I'm just trying to find another sources. I just put sources from Anguttara Nikaya.
Anguttara Nikaya.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So because I'm thinking whether is Buddha will explain so details to Anatta Pitaka or not. Okay, understand.
Etta vadaja ammehi sambadam bunya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe saddha numodandu sabba sampatti siddhya idhamme nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo idhamme nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo idhamme nyatinam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo idhamme punyam asawekaya vaham hotu idhamme punyam nibbanasa pajayo hotu mama punya bhagam sabba sadanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu sadhu sadhu sadhu